Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Mataji Dhanvat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanavad pranam.
Ravina Mataji Dhanvat Pranam. Hare Krishna. Okay. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Drishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Ram Hare Hare. Mukhum karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwara. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat Pranam, Chandan here.
Hari Bol, we are happy to hear your voice.
Yeah, same here, Prabhuji.
Okay, so we are continuing. We'll finish the 9th chapter, and this particular section is called Glories of Bhakti. Acronym for this chapter is King, King of Knowledge, Inconceivable Nature of Krishna, Non-Worship. Last week we saw 3 kinds of people: those who understand Krishna, they engage in um, devotional service of the Lord, and they are always under the protection of internal energy. Then those who think that Krishna's form was not transcendental. Krishna says, "Fools deride me when I descend in a human-like form. They do not know my transcendental nature, and that they do not know me as the supreme Lord of all that be." So those who don't understand the who Krishna is, um, um, Krishna says in the next verse, their hope for liberation, progress is defeated, and they engage in external energy of the Lord, and based on their desires at the time of death, they are awarded next birth, and then next birth they develop some more desires. They satisfy the Krishna helps them to Krishna reminds them of their desires from previous life. They start running to fulfill those desires. Some of them get fulfilled based on their karma, and in the course of life they develop new desires, and based on their cumulative desires at the time of death, they are given another body to fulfill those particular desires, and this continues. But as soon as one start engaging in devotional service to the Supreme Lord, his cycle of birth and death comes to an end. But there are others who are kind of confused, who have knowledge but they don't have knowledge. I mean, they have desire to make spiritual progress but they don't know how to do it, and um, they try to progress in many different directions, many different ways, by doing yagya, sacrifices, worship of ancestors, worship of Brahman, worship of devatas, or drinking somaras and studying Vedas to achieve heavenly planets, or doing yoga to attain Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok. So they are all trying to become spiritual in many directions, but Krishna says it's avidhi purvakam. They are trying to approach in a wrong way. Um, and then he says those who worship demigods go to the planet of demigods. Those who worship ghosts take birth among the ghosts. Those who worship ancestors go to Pitralok. Pitralok is a place where when someone leaves the body, Yamlok comes and they take them to Pitralok, and they stay in Pitralok for a long time, and then again, based on their karma, they stay in Pitralok, and then again they are awarded another birth. So those who worship ancestors, because ancestors live in Pitralok, they go and meet the ancestors again in Pitralok based on desires. Whatever desire we have, we are awarded an opportunity to fulfill those desires. Nonetheless, the life in different bodies in the material world continues until we take to devotional service. So this is what we discussed, the summary of so far, and now we come to G glories of bhakti. Okay, let's begin. Now this is the most important section of this chapter. And
Prabhuji, sorry, Prabhuji.
Govind Sir Prabhu, yes.
So just one doubt regarding Pitralok, Prabhuji, before we start, Prabhuji, this thing.
Okay.
So we say, right, like some ancestors, they go to Pitralok. So when Yamraja comes and go. So how this thing, Prabhu, like we say, if you have good karma, you go to like demi-gods planet, or
Yeah.
based on karma, you go to lower planets. And if your consciousness at the time of that is like about your ancestors, then you go to Pitralok, Prabhuji.
Oh, everybody goes to Pitralok. Not everyone. Let me rectify. If we have good or bad karma, usually we have mix of both.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Usually, so we go to Pitralok, and it's a long concept. But based, if we have bad karma, then staying at Pitralok for a very long time before we see Yamraj. Pitralok is compared to a waiting area. So
Okay.
Yamdutas come and take everyone to Pitralok. So there are, imagine how many living entities are going to Pitralok. But it happens after human life only. But if they are in animal birth or other, it's just evolution going on. It's already decided for them. Different, it's a cycle. Um, um, in Pitralok, there is no water or food. And that's why progeny, they offer pinda,
Pinda.
so that
Agree, yeah.
yeah, but hunger and thirst is there. So and those who don't, whose generations don't offer pinda, they stay there with hunger and thirst, so there is suffering there in
And if we offer, they say, right, like we offer pindas like after offering to Lord Vishnu. So this way we are reducing their like balance
yeah, we are reducing their bad karma
by
based on
offering
that.
prasadam.
As soon as they see Yamraj, they immediately are taken to next destination
Okay.
based on their hearing. But if till they see Yamraj, they don't know, so they just stay there. Is
Okay.
it all right?
Yes, yes. Thank you. This clarifies a lot.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Prabhuji, sorry.
yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, when we perform sacrifices, you said that it's a wrong form of worshipping Krishna. So do we get karma for that?
We get good karma. There is no bad karma. It's we are trying to make progress like worshipping demigods. Um, Good karma. Result of good karma is um, we get some material benefit. And if we are staunch worshipper of a particular demigod, then then we go to the planet of that demigod. But it is still binding because prolong our stay in this material world. One more thing in this respect is demigods have some powers. They are higher beings. Um, for example, um, if I have what do I say, eye problem or some health issue and or some work issue or some problem, and I worship to a particular demigod responsible for that, then that demigod can provide those things for me. Um, like in scriptures, for knowledge you worship Saraswati, and for different things you have for mind worship moon god. um, so it's a form of worship, but the benefits are temporary material. They're ultimately given by Krishna. Same with yagya also, because most of the times yagya is offered to Indra and other demigods most of the time. Um, we see that from the example of Krishna Leela, where even Nanda Maharaj was offering yagyas to Indra to please Indra, and then Krishna said, "No, there is no need." Does it answer?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, okay, okay. Someone can read. We'll begin now.
Look, Prabhuji. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it.
Mhm. Now, this is one of the um, um, this is I think this is one of the words where Krishna has used the word bhaktya twice. Bhaktya means if you offer with love, anything you offer, then I will accept. Um, how difficult it is to offer a leaf, or to offer a flower, or to offer fruit, or to offer water. How difficult. It doesn't take anything. You don't have to be a very rich man, very well to do, settled. Anybody can do it. And if you do that with love for Krishna, Krishna will accept it. And Krishna is pleased by that offering. So that much simple it is to um, um, to love Krishna. We can offer anything we have. Now, recently I heard a lecture where somebody was mentioning, I don't know who was mentioning, that in this material world, presentation is important. But in spiritual world, intent is important. Um, um,
Amoglila Prabhuji said.
I think Amoghita Prabhu. So I really like that point that he mentioned. In this material world, presentation is important. Like if you give a leaf to your manager, he will not be pleased, or to anybody, he will not be pleased. We will say, okay, now put it there in the trash. Um, but if you offer that to Krishna with love, Krishna will accept it. So it is very easy to please Krishna. Um, Sometimes devotee says, um, I offer food to Krishna, but does Krishna eat? The food remains as it is. We say Krishna is eaten, but the quantity has not reduced. um, um, Brahma Samhita explains Krishna can perform all the activities of that can be performed with senses, with any of his senses. All his senses are perfect. Means Krishna, like we can walk by our legs, we can hear from our ears, see from our eyes, taste with our tongue. But Krishna can um, taste through his eyes. Krishna can hear through his eyes. Krishna can walk through his legs. Krishna's senses are perfect. Just an example. Any senses can do anything. So just by glancing at the food, Krishna accepts. Krishna accepts. Actually, what Krishna really accepts is not the food, but what Krishna really accepts is the intent with which the food is cooked. In material world, if we cook something and it doesn't taste good, even though the person may have cooked with lot of affection, one may say, क्या खाना बनाया है, बिल्कुल खराब है, बनाना नहीं आता आपको, because one is seeing the presentation, like Amog Leela Prabhu said. But Krishna is not like that. Krishna, whatever you offer, if your mood is I'm cooking it for the pleasure of Krishna, Krishna will smile at you. So that is the difference. Like there is a story, and many of you may have heard, where Mahabharat war was beginning, was about to begin. So Yudhishthir Maharaj and Duryodhan, what they would do is they would approach different kings and they would talk to different kings and invite them to join their group, because Mahabharat war. So these two kings are going to fight against each other, and they can make allies with many other individual kingdom. Krishna was the king of Dwarka. He had a huge Sena, Narayani Sena, with him, made of Yadus, huge Sena. So Duryodhan wanted Krishna to fight from his side. Duryodhan has that motive. So what Duryodhan did is, Duryodhan invited Krishna for lunch when Krishna was coming to Hastinapur. Duryodhan invited him for lunch. Krishna went, and Duryodhan has prepared 1,000-course feast for Krishna. But Krishna didn't go to the house of Duryodhan. Why? Because Duryodhan had a motive. He was not, because Krishna does not take the food, Krishna takes the intent. The intent was not pure. And instead of going to Duryodhan's home, Krishna went to the home of Vidura. And when he went to the home of Vidura, Vidura's wife and Vidura were shocked. Oh, Krishna has come to our home. And Vidura said, bring something for Krishna, immediately bring. And Vidura's wife said, we have nothing at home. Something, bring something. Krishna has come to our home, we have to offer him something. And then she brought bananas, because they have only bananas. So Vidura peeled the bananas, but because he was in so much state of happiness that he lost his senses also. He was so, how can Krishna is here, Krishna, so he was so much in anxiety that Krishna has come to our home. And in that, because he could not focus, he threw the banana, the core part of banana, and he offered peel to Krishna, and Krishna ate the peel, and Krishna was very satisfied by eating the peel. So the idea is intent, because Krishna was much more happy eating the peel than eating 1,000 feast course cooked by Duryodhan. So what Krishna really accepts is the love in which it is cooked. See, it is so simple to please Krishna. If we simply do anything for Krishna, you will see a smile on the face of Krishna. Doesn't matter the results. Sometime I cook, and because we have a lot of services in the temple, sometimes it comes out good, sometimes it doesn't come out good, because I'm not expert at it. Um, and whenever it comes out or doesn't come out, I say to Krishna, my Lord, थोड़ा salt का मुझे अंदाज नहीं था, कम हो गया, ज़्यादा हो गया, whatever. My Lord, please accept it. I cooked for you. Please accept it. And I have faith Krishna accepted. So it's very easy. Although we should try our best to serve Krishna, but it is very easy to accept Krishna. Krishna is very accommodating and very easy. Another example Prabhupada used to give, he used to say that everything belongs to Krishna. So what do we have to offer to Krishna? We cannot offer anything to Krishna because everything already is his. But Krishna is pleased by the intent that this person wants to do something for me. And that's why intent is the only thing which is important. For example, when we offer um, Ganga water, um, we go to Ganges, these sages, they take Ganga water and they offer it back to Ganga. Now the water belongs to Ganga. So by pouring it back to Ganga, what are we giving to Ganga? Nothing. Physically, we are not giving anything to Krishna. We are giving Ganga water back to Ganga, and that water is infinite. We are giving only a palmful of water, but still Ganga is very pleased. That's a recommended way to worship Ganga. Just take some water and offer it back to Ganga. Why Ganga is so pleased? He wants to do something for me. That's what Ganga is looking at. So that's what Krishna looks at. He wants to do something for me. If we just desire to serve Krishna, we get the benefit of serving Krishna. So it's so easy to please Krishna. Another example Prabhupada used to give is a child. When a child wants to um, um, like the child asks father, father chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Father said no, दांत खराब हो जाएंगे, कीड़े लग जाएंगे, भागो यहाँ से. Chocolate है, chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Okay, buy it. And then father gives him money. He goes, he buys the chocolate. He comes back. He get 3 chocolates and he says, Father, 1 chocolate for you. Mama, 1 chocolate for you and 1 chocolate for me. And the father is very happy. Now, there is nothing the child actually offered to father. Why? The money came from father. Nothing is owned by the child. The child is simply a kind of, he's just accepting. He's just accepting all the services. But why the father is pleased when the child gives chocolate back to the father? Intent. Oh, the child used his free will to serve me, and the father is extremely happy. Likewise Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna, but just the moment we desire, my Lord, I want to do this for you. Now the body is given by Krishna, everything, the body is sustained, all the natural arrangement, sunlight, moonlight, we are completely dependent on Krishna. We cannot breathe, the air is, all arrangements are made by Krishna's arrangement. Universes come out from the pores of Krishna. Everything, we are completely dependent upon him. Just that intent, my Lord, for your pleasure. Please accept, and Krishna will accept it. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's read this.
Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
Mm. Now these verses, these 8 verses, 9 verses in this chapter, supremely important. That's why this knowledge is what makes this chapter most confidential, this section specifically. That's why it's also called glories of bhakti. And here Krishna is telling, whatever you do it as an offering to me. Everything, do it as an offering to me. Srimad Bhagavatam explains, Sam Siddhim Haritoshanam. The goal of all the activity, Sam Siddhim Haritoshanam. Toshanam is to please Hari. If by our activities Krishna is pleased, great. if by our activities Krishna is not pleased, Srimad Bhagavatam describes that activity as Shrama eva hi kevalam. Shram eva hi kevalam means waste of time. If anything we did that didn't please Krishna, we wasted our time, at least that aspect. So Krishna is here telling, whatever you do it as an offering to me. Whatever you do. Now what all do? We do so many things. We work, we take care of family, we cook, we do so many things. Krishna is telling, whatever you do it as an offering to me. Now let's try to understand this. For example, work. Now or studies, different people have different work. Students, for them it is studies. For people who are in grahasthashram and working, if we are studying, actually we are studying, like what I remember, I used to study to please my parents. I didn't like to study, but I would like to get good marks because I want mother and father. I want to show to mother and father that I got good marks and they are happy. So there is always somebody we are trying to please. Um, um, for me, when I was studying, it was not so important which rank I get or how much score I get, but it was more important for me that when I show the report card to my mother and father, they are happy. So in a way, I was actually studying for the pleasure of my parents, basically. Now, same principle we have to apply to Krishna. For example, when we are working also, we are actually working to please the manager, so that we may have ulterior motive. I can get a hike, I can get this and that, good name in the company, whatever. I can get a good promotion, a next higher level of position. I can get this. So we are always trying to do things in this world for somebody, for somebody. Um, what we have to train ourselves is, whatever we are doing, we have to tell Krishna, Krishna, I'm doing it for you. Krishna, I'm doing it to please you. Krishna, this is my service to you. We have to train ourselves in that way, that we are doing it, everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Then we'll do it sincerely also, because if we are doing anything for Krishna, we'll try to do it very nicely, naturally. Um, for example, a mother, when the husband or the children, when she is away, she is not very enthusiastic to cook for herself. She is not. I heard from many families, when the mothers in the family, they say, probably when family was not there, when I was here or there, I had no enthusiasm to cook. Why? Because it's natural that when we try to do for somebody else, we try, because our nature is to serve. When we are doing anything just for ourselves, we'll not be very enthusiastic about it. But when we are doing it for somebody else, we'll be enthusiastic about it. We'll do our best. Like, for example, when I'm cooking for Krishna, then I want to make chola bhatura, jalebis. I want to go to YouTube, I want to learn, I want to try it out. I want to spend 2-3 hours and make a nice offering for Krishna. And then when I am hungry and nothing is there, then I say, my Lord, I am fasting for your pleasure. Everything is your arrangement. Please accept it. Or I will eat some muri, that laya, that puffed rice. And I'm happy with that. But when we are doing for Krishna, we are giving our best. So this is what happens when we do something for the pleasure of Krishna. We are always doing for somebody in this world. We have to direct it. Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita, whatever you do, make it or do it as an offering to me. Kalakanta Prabhu, I was recently hearing one of his lectures, and he said, our work is like our Kurukshetra war. Just like for Krishna, he was fighting for the pleasure of Krishna. It was his duty as a Kshatriya. It was his work. Now, Duryodhana was doing the same thing, but he was doing it for himself. Arjuna was doing the same thing, um, but he was doing for the pleasure of Krishna. Now, one can think, how can I make software for the pleasure of Krishna? How can I see a patient for the pleasure of Krishna? Yeah. Um, well, how can we kill for the pleasure of Krishna? Sounds very difficult. But Arjuna did it. Arjuna did it. He was doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. Now, we may say, well, Krishna was there. Um, Krishna, one may say, well, Krishna was there and Krishna gave Arjuna direct instruction that you fight for my pleasure. But we are not receiving direct instruction. But we have instruction from our spiritual master that we have to work to maintain. This is a duty of a particular ashram. So in a way, this is what Krishna wants us to do. So we simply has to see it and train it in that way and offer it and do it for the pleasure of Krishna. I met one Grahastha devotee practicing for 30 years, and he told me, my work, everything is for the pleasure of Krishna. And he said, in the beginning, it is very difficult to do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. It's more like if I am chanting, then I am Krishna conscious. Otherwise, I'm not. It's not Krishna conscious. But somehow, if I use the results in Krishna service, then only I'm Krishna conscious. Well, it's one aspect of it to use results in Krishna service also. But the consciousness can be, my Lord, I'm doing it for your pleasure. Another thing we can do is while we are working, we can apply the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Then again, we are living Krishna's instruction in our work, like humility, tolerance, the principles of Bhagavad Gita. We can apply, and that way also we are becoming Krishna conscious. Like I remember when I was working, um, I made a mistake, and one person in charge of that particular team, he scolded me that and I was not very happy about it, naturally, because I was scolded in public. So I felt bad about it, and then I was thinking, well, this is Krishna's arrangement. This Krishna's arrangement. Krishna wants me to learn tolerance, and I should accept my mistake. And then I said, I am sorry. And later on, my manager came, and he apologized on behalf of that team. And he said, actually, it was none of your mistake. Somehow it happened. And I said, no, I was very happy accepting it. So you can apply principles of Gita at work, and you are still Krishna conscious there. Or even when you are working, if you get stuck, you can depend on Krishna, because from Krishna comes intelligence. I'm writing a software, I don't know how to tweak it. My Lord, please help me. Give me the intelligence on how I can make this thing work. So again, we can depend on Krishna. So we have to train ourselves. The more we train, the more Krishna will give intelligence that how to offer everything as an offering to Krishna. And naturally, when we are at home, the remaining time, we should render direct devotional service. We should chant 16 rounds, hear, read, associate, do everything, and try to become Krishna conscious and do everything else needed in this ashram as an offering to Krishna. So whatever you do, whatever you eat, this is clear. Anything you cook it for the pleasure of Krishna. And then you offer to Krishna, and then you eat. Whatever you eat, you do it as an offering to me. Whatever you offer or give away, um, like any charity you make, my Lord, I'm doing it for your pleasure. We have to train ourselves. I'm doing it um, for your pleasure. Whatever. There are different ways to give charity that will come in 18th chapter, or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, you do it as an offering to me. like suppose we are fasting on Ekadashi. What is our consciousness? Uh, my Lord, I'm fasting because I know it gives you pleasure. I know uh, you want me to do this. I'm doing it for your pleasure. Great. Or sometime we may be fasting. Ekadashi is coming. So difficult now. I cannot eat grains. Now we are still fasting, but the consciousness, instead of my Lord, I'm doing it now. Anyways, it's an austerity. Austerity means there is some inconvenience, but is it offered to Krishna? It will give you benefit anyways, even if you fast without any consciousness, but it will not give you the same benefit. So the idea is, are we consciously trying to do everything as an offering to Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna? Um, I was sharing this on Thursday also, this example that one very senior devotee, he is temple president of Detroit Temple, Jagat Guru Prabhu. He asked me, why should we chant? Me and one more friend of mine, Sham Kishore Prabhu, we are roommates. So we both were there, and he asked both of us, why should we chant? And we gave many reasons. And we said, well, it's service to spiritual master. We have given our words to spiritual master. Well, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descended. It will give us love of Godhead. It will purify our heart from all anarthas. It is the Yoga Dharma, Sankirtan Yagya. It is mentioned coming from scriptures. It is the Maha Mantra. It is the only means in this age of Kali. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Eva Kevalam. There is no other way, no other way, no other way in this age of Kali. And we both give all Shastric reason. We kind of emptied there whatever we know about why we are chanting. And he said, this is all correct. This everything is very nice. Everything is a good reason to chant, but why should we chant? And we are like, Arey Prabhu, abhi to bataya aapko itne sare reasons. Then he said, no, they are excellent reasons. But why should we chant? Then, and now he's very senior, so we can't say anything. So we said, Prabhuji, aap bataiye, why should we chant? Then he said, we should chant to please Krishna. We should chant because we know when we chant, Krishna becomes happy. So we should do it to please Krishna, whether we like it or we don't like it. As an austerity, sometimes we like to do, sometimes we don't, doesn't matter. But because we know that it pleases Krishna, it's a service to Krishna. It's our offering to Krishna. Krishna says, whatever you do, you offer it to me. So are you offering this to Krishna? That my Lord, this is for your pleasure. And we didn't say anything. So the idea is, whatever you do it for the pleasure of Krishna. And that will, what will be the result of that? That's next verse. Let's read this.
In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me.
In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work. If we are doing anything from our pleasure, it will bind us. Or if we are doing it for anyone's pleasure, it will bind us, no matter who that is. If it is not Guru and Krishna and Vaishnavas. So, if we are doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, only then the work will be liberating. If we are working also, but if we are working not for the pleasure of Krishna, then we will be working for ourselves, for the earnings, for a position, for whatever reason. We are constantly getting more and more bondage through that. But if we are doing it, my Lord, this is my service to you. And we have to train ourselves. Then we become free from bondage from that work, and we become free from auspicious and inauspicious results. Like I was giving an example of cooking. Sometimes cooking comes out good, sometimes it doesn't comes out so good. And if I'm doing it to impress someone, suppose other than Krishna, impress someone that I'm a great cook, then when it comes out very good, I will become proud. It's a bondage. When it doesn't come out good, then um, I will be frustrated. I will be depressed, and I will be humbled. And both are auspicious, inauspicious results. Why there is so much um, anxieties? Anxiety is because of we are kind of material anxiety. I'm talking about not spiritual anxiety, material anxiety, attachment to results, bondage. So that's why Krishna is telling you do it as an offering to me. And then we know Krishna is seeing only the intent. Krishna says bhaktya, you offer a leaf, flower, whatever. I accept the bhakti, I accept the intent. So whatever be the result, Krishna will accept it. If you offer a peel to Krishna, Krishna will accept it if there is love in that. So then only we become free from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. Otherwise, we are in anxiety always. That's how this material world is called a place of anxiety, because we are attached to something or the other. When things happen our way, there is material happiness. When not, there is material anxiety. So it will bind us. Anything done, whatever it is, anything done not for the pleasure of Krishna, it will bind us. Even if food is cooked not for pleasure of Krishna, it will bind us. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation. Now, principle of renunciation is very important. Why? Till we are renounced from the results, we cannot do anything for the pleasure of Krishna. If we are attached to the result of our work, then obviously we are doing work for ourselves. In order to do everything for the pleasure of Krishna, we should have renunciation from the results, from the results. Otherwise, um, um, when things go our way, there is it's auspicious. Does not go our way, it is inauspicious. So, principle of renunciation. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. And Krishna says, when we are fixed in that consciousness, that everything that we are doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, then we can go back to Krishna. Okay.
Prabhuji, one question.
Okay.
What's the principle or how to apply for the pleasure of Krishna honoring prasad? It mostly looks like sense gratification only.
Well, Prabhuji, if we eat prasad in a consciousness that it is Krishna's remnants, it that itself is sufficient. Like if we are in the consciousness that this is Krishna's remnants, like I have seen spiritual masters, um, they eat very nicely. Whatever devotees offer with love, they eat very nicely. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat prasadam, and all the devotees in Jagannath Puri will get so much bhoga from Lord Jagannath Mahaprasad, and they would have feasting. Every day they would have feasting. In fact, Prabhupada used to call kitchen religion ISKCON. So prasadam is one main aspect of it. But we have to cultivate the consciousness. It is Krishna's remnants. And it is Krishna's remnants. Just we have to see in that way. And Mahaprasadam prayers is very nice. And slowly, on an advanced stage, Prabhuji, our eating becomes to maintain the body. That becomes the purpose of eating. And because the body is used in Krishna's service, when the intention is to maintain the body, that eating is actually very frugal. Like you see our Goswamis, very frugal. You see the eating of Prabhupada, very frugal. Uh, um, what I have seen, Prabhuji, keep eating prasadam as an offering to Krishna. Keep doing it year after year. Um, you will lose taste for taste because there is Krishna factor. Krishna factor brings renunciation in itself. At the same time, my spiritual master says we are very strict in general. Um, 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 Prasadam is one outlet that we should eat nicely because we need to enjoy somewhere. So take nice prasadam, eat what you like. Just try to have that consciousness that um, Nitai Gauranga ate it, and I'm eating their remnants. And that factor will over time purify anything remaining. But because it is Krishna's prasadam, even knowingly, unknowingly, you will see by eating it, even if it is luxurious, you will only make spiritual progress because it is a anga of bhakti. Is that all right? Different. These are different thoughts.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Uh, okay. Sorry. Let's read this.
I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him.
So Krishna is telling, I envy no one. This is another principle. Samaham sarva bhuteshu na me asti same na priya. Samaham sarva bhuteshu. I am equal to all. I'm not partial to anyone. Sama, I am equal to all. Um, mm, how do we understand it? It seems like Krishna is favoring devotees. It seems like Krishna is favoring Arjuna. It seems like Krishna is towards Pandava's side, or Krishna has special affection for Vrajvasis. It seems like Krishna is very partial, and it seems like Krishna does not like Jarasandha, Rukmi, Duryodhan, and Krishna wants them to be killed. It seems like that. But Krishna says, I envy no one. Envy means when we don't want someone's welfare. Krishna wants everyone's welfare. Whoever Krishna killed, they were liberated. So Krishna wants everyone's welfare. Putana came to kill Krishna. Krishna sent her back to Godhead. So Krishna is all good. On the other hand, even people who are atheistic and very envious of Krishna, Krishna is fulfilling their desires also. Krishna is sitting in their heart. If we don't like someone, if someone hates us and criticizes us, then our natural tendency will be, because I don't like this person, I want that person not to succeed or progress. I want that person to go through difficult times. When there is envy in the heart, this is the thought. I want the other person to go through difficult time because he made me go through difficult time. So it should come back to him. He should struggle, he should suffer, he should do this. Pure devotees and Krishnas, that's not their mood. Krishna, although someone criticizes, no matter what others say, Krishna is only looking for their welfare. They want a good job, a good house, but they criticize Krishna and they say there is no God, and they say I am God. Still Krishna fulfills their desires, and still Krishna tries to help them to come close to him. That is being sama, being equal to all. Okay, and why he seems to be partial to devotees? Well, he is not partial. The reason he seems to be like that is because he is fulfilling everyone's desires. He is impartial in fulfilling someone's desire. Like Krishna says, as you approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. Ye yathamam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajami aham. So if somebody approaches Krishna that you are not there, there is no God, I am the only God, everyone is God. All right, Krishna gives them that understanding. Krishna reciprocates, and somebody comes and says, my Lord, please help me. Krishna gives them help. My Lord, please give me devotion to you. Krishna gives them devotion to him. My Lord, please give me attachment, attraction, affection for you. Krishna give them that. And somebody says, I don't believe in you. Then Krishna gives them faith while why I doesn't exist. Based on our desires. Krishna is completely neutral. So Krishna is reciprocating with everyone's desire, but that does not make Krishna partial. Um, like an example, common example can be if you have two kids, one child needs your help in studies, another child doesn't, then uh, you will give your help to that child who needs your help, and who is self-sufficient, does not need your help. You will let them be that way. But are you partial to your first child? No, you're just reciprocating based on as they want you to serve them, you are serving accordingly, but you love them both. If the second child comes and says, I need your help, you will give your help to second child also. So Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So who render devotional service, he wants a loving relationship with me. So I give him that. I become his friend. I give him that. Yet I am not envious of anyone. Okay. Okay. Let's read this.
Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination.
Yeah, this is another verse which glorifies um, Krishna. Krishna says, even if one commits the most abominable activity, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is considered saintly. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, Maya is very powerful, very powerful. So she may make us even break regulative principles. She can do that. She is very powerful. Um, 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 we may commit abominable activities which are not at all conducive for devotional service. But Krishna says, um, now this is not something that knowingly we do it. If we knowingly do it, we are incriminated. But if because of the power of Maya, if we end up in doing something which we know is not conducive for devotional service, and then we heavily lament, why did I do this? I should not have done that. Then Krishna still considers us saintly because we are fixed in our determination to continue our service to him. So Krishna still considers us saintly. Okay, and this also removes any opportunity for us to see fault in others, because like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once said, even if Nityananda Prabhu is found in brothel, in bars and pubs and other places, don't find fault in him. So even if we see somebody else doing abominable activity, um, not that it's not their habit, but it's something we heard, or this devotee, I heard he did like this, he behaved like this, he became angry like this, he this. Ignore. Just because another devotee acted out of lust, anger, envy, ignore. Don't find fault in that devotee because he became overtaken by the impulse of lust, anger, envy. Don't worry about it. Krishna says, well, it happens. Suddenly a gush may come and we may be overtaken because of the power of illusory energy. Krishna says because he is engaged in devotional service, that devotee laments heavily. Who becomes angry, he laments. Why did I become angry? Who acts on a platform of lust, he thinks, how fallen I am, कितना गिरा हुआ इंसान हूँ मैं. Likewise, envy. Why did I get such thoughts? Why did I say like this to him? Why did I take on my envy and ego? Why did I do that? So, uh, the when we see others acting on these platforms, we should not criticize them, judge them, or find fault in them, because we know that because they are taking the path of devotion, very soon they will be removed from these symptoms and they'll become pure devotees. So, but now we should also understand that we also go through these emotions. Maybe some emotions more, some emotions less, but we have these emotions at different point of time. Um, my spiritual master says, one time one devotee asked my spiritual master, Maharaj, why is it that everybody loves you? This was shared by Kadama Kanana Prabhu in last Vyas Puja. And he was sharing this, that one devotee asked my spiritual master, Maharaj, how is it everybody loves you? And Maharaj said, because I don't see fault in others. Because I love everyone. I don't see fault in others, so everybody loves me. That's how it works. If others act on some platform and we see that they are sincere, that's all we have to see. They are sincere, they are trying their best. This happens, they were overtaken, and they are lamenting for what they have done. Now they are already being purified because of their lamentation. Why should I add up? And because Krishna considers them saintly also. Like uh, uh, so yeah, if we don't see fault in others, others will not see fault in us, because we will make mistakes. We don't want to be judged by others when we make mistakes, naturally, and we should not judge others when they make mistakes also. That's okay. That's okay. Krishna consciousness will purify them. Okay, let's read this.
He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes.
And then Krishna says he quickly become righteous. Even if he commits the most abominable activity, he acts out of lust, anger, envy, false ego, pride. Even if he acts because he's engaged in devotional service, Krishna actually arranges situations that he becomes purified. Um, Krishna is the one who actually purifies the devotees. Krishna knows in and out. So why do we have to? Why do we have to interfere? Um, um, Krishna is already working, and Krishna says even if he acts on any of these platforms, he will attain. Although he may be in anxiety temporarily, he will attain lasting peace, and he will become perfect. He'll become pure, just because he is fixed in his determination to render devotional service. If you are rendering devotional service, if you have millions of bad habits, everything will go away. Everything will go away just by the power of time. Everything will go away. And then Krishna says, Kantya prati janahi name bhakta pranashyati. Declare it that my devotee never perishes. The reason Krishna says, many of you know that, but some of you may not. The reason Krishna tells Arjuna to declare, because Krishna is not very keen on keeping his promises. But because Krishna gives more importance to his devotees than himself. For Krishna, if devotees want something, if it goes against my promise, I'm okay. I will try to please my devotees. One of the most prominent quality of Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. He sacrifices his own promises for his devotees' promises. So that's why Krishna tells, but Krishna never ever broke a promise that his devotees have taken. If a devotee says, I curse you, please forgive me. The demon says, please forgive me. I did. Okay, Krishna will come and deliver you. Krishna, you become the trees. Narad Muni said, oh, let Krishna will come and liberate you. You do this, Krishna will do this. So whatever devotee says, Krishna has to follow. Brahmaji said to Hiranyakashipu, okay, you will not die, this, agreed. And Krishna followed that as Lord Nrsimhadev. So Krishna never break the promises his devotee makes, because Krishna values the words of his devotees. Krishna respects his devotees. That's a loving relationship. That's what makes it more confidential. Because we discussed in the beginning, Prabhupada says, 7th chapter, we just know that we are part and parcel of Krishna. But what is the nature of loving dealings between the devotee and Krishna? That comes in the glories of bhakti. The loving relationship that comes here. So Krishna says, Dekho, I will not take promise. I will not say my devotee never perishes. You declare it that my devotee never perishes. So everybody in the world knows, because Arjuna has declared he is a devotee of Krishna. Nothing can touch a devotee of Krishna. See, devotee of Krishna is always protected. Um, very nice example is Ambarish Maharaj. Durvasa Muni threw the fiery demon. Immediately Sudarshan Chakra came, killed the fiery demon, and wanted to kill Durvasa also, till Durvasa surrendered to Ambarish Maharaj. So that is Krishna's value for his devotees. Now it does not mean that we will not die. Devotees also will leave the body, but if we are not pure, we are directly under protection of Krishna, making sure in next life Krishna makes personal arrangement to connect us to devotees, and we start again from where we left off till we go back to Godhead. Krishna is personally orchestrating things in our life, so we go to him. Even if we are the worst among worst of all the devotees, just chanting one round here and there, Krishna sees, oh, he has some devotion to me. He's trying to please me. He has affection for my Vaishnavas. If a devotee becomes affection to a devotee, that's all. Affectionate to a devotee, he's also liberated. So a devotee is such a powerful, uh, uh, such dear to Krishna. Um, and Krishna says, a devotee is always under uh, protection of Krishna, always under protection of Krishna. So we are also very respectful and careful while dealing with devotees, right? Yes, Krishna's mercy, and we want Krishna's mercy also. Um, and this is the loving dealing between Krishna and his devotees. Okay, let's read this. I think this is third last verse for today.
Son of Partha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, can attain the supreme destination.
Anybody who takes shelter of me, even if they are of lower birth, they can attain the supreme destination. What is lower birth? Lower birth is when we have lot of attachments. That is lower birth. Um, um, when we have lot of desires, lust, envy, greed, um, then we are considered lower birth. So basically, Krishna is telling, no matter, now for some people to practice Krishna conscious very easy. For some people it becomes very difficult. Why? Because they are trying to control their senses, and senses are wild. They are so eager to satisfy this. For some people it's natural. Now, based on our previous life karma, those who have indulged in sense gratification in previous life, they will have lot more attachment in this life. But those who have practiced some sort of renunciation in previous life, they will not have. By renunciation, um, the desire weakens. But by giving in to sense indulgence, those particular type of desires grows further. So, based on our previous lives, those whose birth is previous life devotees or other things, they um, 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 higher birth. Higher birth means very easy for them um, to progress. But those who have indulged sufficiently, they are trying to make progress and they are tormented again and again, day after day, day after day, day after day. It becomes difficult for them. But Krishna is here telling, even if those who are born in lower birth, even if they have committed abominable after abominable activities in the previous life, if they take up, if they take shelter in me, those who take shelter in me, basically, if they start attending devotional service, they can also attain supreme destination, or they can also come to me. So in other words, you don't need any as such qualification to perform devotional service or to go back to Godhead. Different devotees um, have different desires and different intensity of material desires. Doesn't matter. You may be too attached, too gross, too fallen, or you may be relatively better. If you simply stick to the process of devotional service, you will make it back to Godhead. Just don't give up devotional service, stick to it. um, um, Associate with devotees, read the scriptures, chant the holy names, cook whatever, offer whatever you eat. Stick to the principles, follow for regulative principles. Be strict in your devotional service. Um, for some, it will be more difficult, for some, it will be less difficult. Try your best. Try your best. Krishna says, if you lack strength, yoga shema bahamiham. I will carry what you lack. If it is difficult for you, Krishna says, I will help you out. You just desire and take a step, and Krishna will bestow all mercy upon you. Okay, second last verse.
How much more this is so of righteous Brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving services unto me.
Krishna is telling, जो बहुत गिरा हुआ है, वो भी मेरे पास आ जाएगा. Whoever is very fallen, I will take him also. I will give him supreme destination if he approaches me. What to speak about Brahmanas, devotees, and saintly people? Therefore, no matter who you are, no matter what your previous birth, no matter what is your current situation, don't care about it. If you have taken birth in this miserable world, temporary miserable world, engage in loving service to Krishna. Try to render devotional service to Krishna. Everything will become pure and perfect over a period of time. Krishna is helping in all different ways. And this verse relates to Apichesu Duracharo verse also, because those who are lower birth, they will have more temporarily fall downs compared to those who have higher birth, because they have so many attachments. So Maya is much more aggressive on them because of their previous indulgences. And Krishna says, well, even if one commits most abominable activity, I consider him saintly, and he'll quickly become righteous and attain lasting peace. And I will give him supreme destination. So it doesn't matter who you are. We all are on different level of our spiritual advancements. Doesn't matter where you stand. If you have a temporary body, if you are in a temporary world, please engage in devotional service to Krishna. That is all good for you. That is the only good thing for you. And try to do whatever you are doing in this world as an offering to Krishna. Try your best. Okay, my Krishna, I am taking care of my husband for your pleasure. I am taking care of my sons for your pleasure. I am taking care of my parents for your pleasure, because they are your part and parcel. I am doing my duty as you want me to do. Please show your mercy. Please show your mercy. Everything I am doing it for your pleasure. Try to do it. Try to see others as Vaishnavas and see that as Vaishnava Seva. Just try to be who you are. Try to do it for the pleasure of Krishna. And Krishna says, I am very easily pleased. You do anything for me, I will accept it. Little or big. Last verse.
Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me.
And here Krishna is telling how to render devotional service. So far, Krishna has glorified how easy it is to please Krishna. Everything you do it for the pleasure of Krishna. If you don't do for the pleasure of Krishna, then if you do it for the pleasure of Krishna in the spirit of renunciation, then you will go back to Krishna. And even if you commit most abominable act, just continue devotional service. There is no need of atonement if you do something wrong. Continue. I will make you right. You will attain lasting peace. Even if you have a lower birth with so many attachments, do not worry. I will give you supreme destination. But to speak about those who are to lower birth also, I'll give them supreme. But to speak about devotees. So if you have come to this material world, always engage in loving devotional service unto me. Now, Krishna, what do you mean by engage in loving devotional service unto you? Well, engage your mind in thinking of me. Manmana. Always. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Always think of me. How can we always think of Krishna? Srila Prabhupada says in the mind, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You can think of Krishna like that. Or when you are just saying, my Lord, I am doing it for your pleasure, thinking of Krishna. Basically, you are conscious of Krishna. You are offering in whatever way when you are eating prasadam. We offer the prayers before eating prasadam. This is Krishna's prasadam. This is tasted by Radha Gopijana Vallabha. This is cooked by a Vaishnava. Great, glorious. So always think of Krishna. Krishna says, become my devotee. Become a devotee of Krishna. You all are already. Stick to that principle. Remain a devotee of Krishna. Offer obeisances unto me. Offer obeisances. Worship me. Worship Krishna. Simple. This is the way to render loving devotion service of Krishna. Three main aspects of rendering loving devotion service to Krishna is Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam. Think of Krishna, hear about Krishna, Shravanam, Kirtanam, chant the holy names and speak about Krishna and remember Krishna. These are direct services. Yeah, somehow or other become completely absorbed in Krishna, then we will go to him. Okay.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Prabhuji, in 18th verse, we have the same verse, with like the first two lines are same. Is this the only verse that has been repeated?
Yes.
Or that it is the only verse?
That's why I said whatever Krishna mentions in the end of 9th chapter, same thing he describes in the essence of 18th chapter also. That's the essence, is to become a devotee of Krishna. If we have read Bhagavad Gita, but we have not become a devotee of Krishna, then we have lost the crux. If we accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada said you have understood Bhagavad Gita. If you just understand Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, I should chant the holy names, I should hear about him, I should remember him, I should do everything for his pleasure, then you have understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Now move to Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the essence, that's the goal, that's the target, to understand who Krishna is, who we are, what is our relationship with Krishna, how to reawaken that relationship with Krishna, who is Maya, why she is disturbing us, what are the disturbing elements, lust, anger, envy that Krishna describes, ego, and that's all Bhagavad Gita is. Good.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Anyone else has any question? All right. Who is Rama?
Uji,
Ramashankar.
it's me, Ramashankar.
Really? How you joined here?
I just talked to Amar Prabhu and he said that he is in the Bhagavad Gita. So I just said that I also wanted to join. So he sent me the link.
Oh yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, it cannot be Rama Shankar Prabhu. Then who is Rama? Okay, done with it now. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So we'll end here. Thank you very much to all of you. Vanchakalpatarubhesha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grateful to all of you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.